Hello everybody and welcome back. It is the year 2022 and the bottom line is back, well, with more of the same really. A lot of the action from the world of combat sports with a special focus as always on MMA and my favorite organization, the UFC. Now 2022 is promising to be a smashing year of events, but before we look forward to what we can expect, I'd like to take a look back at the year that's passed us by. 2021 saw some huge performances and some fantastic entertainment. Let's do a quick recap of our divisions and who the champions are going into 2022. Now, as things stand, we have a total of 12 divisions that are contested in the UFC. 8 divisions amongst the men and 4 amongst the women. So the year 2021 saw a huge number of changes in the title picture. Of the 12 divisions that are contested in the UFC, 8 amongst the men and 4 the women, we had 7 belts changing hands. So of the 12 champions that went into 2021, only 5 remain. 7 of those divisions have new champions. Let's take a look at the ones that remain and the divisions that have a new title holder in place. First up, the women's strawweight division saw the return of Thug Rose Namajunas coming back to title contention and making her second attempt at UFC Gold. Thug Rose Namajunas took her title back in fantastic fashion when she knocked out Weili Zhang. She also went on to defend the title once against the same opponent, making it back-to-back wins in 2 in a row against the former Chinese champion. Thug Rose Namajunas is our strawweight queen going into 2022. In the flyweight division, Valentina Chefchenko seems to be going very strong, getting in another 2 title defenses in the year 2021 and ranking as the number 1 pound-for-pound women's fighter in the world after dethroning Amanda Nunes. Valentina Chefchenko seems like she is here to stay, but we'll see what 2022 holds for her. Well, a big one amongst the rankings this year, not just amongst the women, not just at Bantamweight, but I think across generations. Juliana Pena upset Amanda Nunes late last year as a huge underdog to take over the Bantamweight title from a lady that is considered to be one of the greatest fighters to ever grace the sport. Now, Juliana Pena has taken over the title from Amanda after a long 5+ year title reign. That was definitely one of the biggest upsets in the history of the UFC. We'll see how far Juliana Pena can carry her success going into 2022. Next up, of course, Amanda Nunes still reigns supreme at featherweight. Yes, that's right. Amanda Nunes, the 2 division belt holder, still retains one of her belts. She did manage to get in a couple of title defenses over the years and doesn't seem like there is too many options in terms of challenges for her at featherweight. But these are our 4 women's champions going into 2022. Thug Rose Namajunas, Valentina Shevchenko, Juliana Pena, and of course the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, who still holds the biggest belt in the women's divisions at UFC. Let's move on and see what's going on amongst the men. Now we'll start things off as usual at the bottom of the weight classes. Let's kick things off at flyweight and talk about the baby-faced assassin, Brandon Moreno. Now, Moreno had a really close fight right at the end of 2020 against the former champion, Davison Figueiredo. Came up with a draw and actually managed to turn things around in his second matchup. So the baby-faced assassin is up for another rematch with Davison Figueiredo, their 3rd one this time, which will come up early this year, and that's one I'm looking forward to. Now, moving into the bantamweight division, this is probably one of the most controversial divisions this past year in the UFC. Currently boasting 2 champions, an undisputed champion, Aljamain Sterling, who of course won that very controversial match and probably made a first in UFC history when he took a championship title win via disqualification against the current interim title holder, Peter No Mercy Yan. Well, these two are due to run it back in a bid to unify the title. Well, that's another exciting matchup for the year 2022, but the champion as it stands is Aljo, the Funkmaster Sterling. Moving up to featherweight. Now, the featherweight ranks are still ruled by the iron hand of Alexander the Great Volkanovski, one of the few returning champions from 2021. This man had some great matchups, but none greater than his title defense against Brian T. City Ortega. Do take a look at that fight. I am voting that fight as the fight of the year, and Alexander Volkanovski is our featherweight king going into 2022. At lightweight, we of course have the new Brazilian star, Charles do Bronx Oliveira, who got 2 fights in 2021, his emphatic win over Michael Chandler to claim the vacant title, and then of course his first title defense against a very game Dustin the Diamond Poirier late in the year. At welterweight, we still have the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru, the pound-for-pound king Usman, who is not only undefeated in the year 2021, unchallenged at welterweight, but continues to ride the top of the pound-for-pound rankings. This man's held the title since 2018, I think, and has managed to clean out the division. Doesn't seem like he's going anywhere in a hurry. We'll see what's next for Kamaru Usman in 2022. Now at middleweight, we have the second of the 3 African champions, the Nigerian-born, the last style bender, Israel Adesanya, who also has a similar story to Kamaru Usman, has cleaned out the middleweight division, but he's due to run it back against former champion, a man he dethroned in 2019, Robert Whittaker. We'll see how that goes when these two clash. That fight's been scheduled already and should be coming up in the early part of 2022. Now at light heavyweight, we saw a huge surprise. A man that many underestimated, thought he was too old, had taken too many losses, had too many miles on him. But Glover Teixeira surprised everybody when he upset a very game Jan Blachowicz to become the oldest man to win a UFC title for the first time. Now, last and finally, the title of the baddest man on the planet for the year 2022 goes to none other than the Predator Francis Ngannou. Francis finally ascended the throne in a fantastic rematch against the former heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic when he knocked him out in the very first round. Unfortunately though, things kinda went a little south soon after that, claiming that his representation has had run-ins with the top brass at the UFC and that they don't really see eye to eye. The creation of an interim belt followed mere months after Francis was crowned champion, and none other than his own training mate, his former training partner and former stablemate, Cyril Bongamin Gan, is now the interim champion. These two are due to run into each other in a unification bout, which will be the first PPV headliner for the year, coming up in a couple of weeks from now. It will be my first pre-fight breakdown. So that's basically all our champions. Going into the year 2022, we have all the women's champions, all the men's champions, and now that we've run through the title picture and how these titles changed hands over the last 1 year, I'd like to pick a few performances that really stood out for me personally over the course of 2021. So first up, I'm going to pick a fight of the year candidate. Now I know what everybody's thinking. Ooh, this one's going to be Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje. For those of you that have watched my videos, you already know that I disagree. If you want to know why, check out my video on what I think about that fight. But the distinction for fight of the year, and I think, man, fight of the decade possibly, goes to none other than Alexander the Great Volkanovski and his title defense against Brian T. City Ortega. That was a 5-round barn burner and a performance that showed heart and skill and technique like I have never seen before. Go check out that fight. I think it is a must watch and a huge bottom line recommendation. Next up, we're going to talk about knockout of the year. Well, I couldn't pick one, so I have actually picked 3. First up, Thug Rose Namajunas and her head kick knockout of Weili Zhang. Second, I'd like to pick Kamaru Usman and what I call the Mike Tyson head vibrator that he landed on Jorge Masvidal to knock him out cold. And last and finally, the picture-perfect flying knee that Corey Sandhagen landed on Frankie Edgar that cast him into the title picture. So those are my 3 picks for knockouts that you must watch. Go check these fights out. Huge entertainment value. And last and finally, I'd like to make one more pick. This one's a more recent occurrence, upset of the year, and there's no prizes for guessing who that goes to. While the Glover Teixeira-Jan Blachowicz fight was sort of at the top of my list, Juliana Pena came in and changed everything on that fateful night in December of 2021 when she upset the GOAT, Amanda Nunes. So go check these fights out. Don't agree with my choices? Go ahead, change my mind. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Keep watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in another episode.